In Nairobi, Kenya, Amina's life looks like something out of a magazine. She's a talented fashion designer, known for her bright colors and elegant style. Her husband, Tariq, is a smooth-talking marketing executive with a charming smile that everyone seems to love. Together, they look perfect, the kind of couple people post about with hashtags like #couplegoal. Their apartment is modern and full of light. Their baby girl Safi is always dressed in tiny matching outfits. And on Instagram, their lives sparkle with happiness. But behind those filtered photos, Amina has started to feel something she can't quite name. Tariq has changed. He's still polite, still smiles at her, but his eyes don't stay long when they meet her. He's always working late, answering messages in another room, and when she asks who's calling, he says, "Just a client, nothing big." Some nights, Amina lies awake, listening to the city hum outside their window, wondering if it's her imagination. Maybe she's just tired. Maybe motherhood is making her overthink things. She tells herself not to be that suspicious wife. Tariq's always been good to her, hasn't he? Still, something feels off. The laughter in their home feels thinner now, like it's missing a note. And though Amina smiles for the pictures and greets neighbors with warmth, a quiet unease has begun to settle in her chest, a feeling she keeps trying to ignore, but can't quite shake. The morning Amina left for Mombasa started like any other. The sun was bright, the city already buzzing with traffic and chatter. She packed her small suitcase, kissed baby Safi's soft cheek, and told Tariq she'd only be gone 2 days to visit her mother. Tariq smiled easily, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. "Don't worry about a thing," he said, his tone light. "I'll take care of everything here. I'll even keep the baby monitor on, just in case she wakes up at night." Amina smiled back, though her heart felt heavy for reasons she couldn't explain. She missed her mother, but something about leaving Tariq alone made her uneasy. Still, she brushed it off. Maybe a short break would do her good. Some time away to breathe, think, and reset. She got into her car, waved one last time, and drove off. The highway stretched long and open, lined with acacia trees and small roadside stalls selling fruit. The radio played old love songs, and for the first time in weeks, Amina felt a bit of calm. Halfway to Mombasa, as she reached for her phone to check the time, she noticed the baby monitor app still open. She had forgotten to switch it off before leaving. Normally, she would have closed it and moved on, but a quiet instinct whispered, "Just check." Maybe Safi had woken up. Maybe she'd catch a glimpse of her sleeping peacefully. She tapped the screen, expecting silence. Maybe the soft rhythm of her baby's breathing. But what she saw made her hand freeze midair. The nursery light was on. Tariq was in the room, but he wasn't checking on Safi. He wasn't even near the crib. He was standing by the dresser, his phone in hand, smiling, that easy, charming smile Amina used to love. At first, she thought he was on a work call. Maybe a client, she told herself. But then, through the tiny speaker, a woman's voice floated in. It wasn't her imagination. It wasn't the TV. It was a woman, soft, playful, familiar in a way that made Amina's stomach twist. "Did she leave already?" the voice asked, laughing quietly. Amina's breath caught. Her thumb trembled as she held the phone closer. Tariq's voice followed, low and warm. "Yeah, she's gone. You know she never suspects anything." The woman giggled again. The sound made Amina's skin crawl. Her chest felt tight, her pulse pounding in her ears. She couldn't believe what she was hearing, what she was seeing. She turned up the volume, hoping she was mistaken. But the words that followed cut straight through her. Tariq leaned against the crib, grinning. "You're crazy, you know that?" he said softly. "But I missed you." Amina's vision blurred. Her mouth went dry. She couldn't look away, couldn't stop watching the man she thought she knew, now standing in the same room as their baby, lying so easily it almost sounded rehearsed. Her fingers shook as she lowered the phone, staring out at the empty road ahead. The world around her suddenly felt colder, quieter, as if time had stopped. Whatever perfect picture she thought her life was, it had just cracked wide open. Amina sat frozen in her car, parked on the side of the road, her hands gripping the steering wheel. The hum of passing trucks and the heat from the sun felt far away. All she could see was the small screen in her hand, the live feed from her baby's nursery. Tariq had just walked in again, the same calm smile on his face, as if nothing in the world could touch him. At first, she thought maybe he was just checking his phone, maybe sending a quick message. But then she heard it again, that same woman's voice. Light, teasing, careless. She finally left? The sound made Amina's heart stop. Her throat tightened so much it hurt to breathe. Tariq laughed softly, a sound that used to make her feel safe. "Yeah, she's gone," he said, still smiling. "You know she's too naive to ever find out." The words hit her like a slap. Naive. That's what he thought of her? The man who had held her hand through childbirth, who told her she was his world. The woman giggled. "You really married her for the money, didn't you?" There was a pause. A moment Amina prayed would bring a different answer, a denial, something to make this nightmare stop. But instead, Tariq's voice came, calm and casual. Of course, he said. She's just convenient. Amina's stomach turned, her vision blurred with tears. She wanted to scream, to throw the phone, to make it all disappear, but she couldn't move. Every word coming through the tiny speaker felt like a knife, cutting deeper than she thought possible. She had believed in him, believed in their life, their little family, their future. And now, in a matter of seconds, that belief was gone. On the screen, Tarek leaned against the crib, the same crib where their daughter slept every night, and kept talking to the woman. His tone was soft, playful, the same tone he once used with Amina. I told you, he said. Just a few more months and everything will be set. She has no idea. The woman laughed again, a sharp sound that made Amina flinch. She could feel her heart breaking in real time, not in a dramatic movie way, but in a quiet, painful way that left her breathless. Her hands were shaking so badly that the phone almost slipped from her grip. She stared at Tarek's face on the screen, the man she'd built her world around, and for the first time, she didn't recognize him. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but she couldn't stop watching. She needed to hear every word, needed to make sure this wasn't some cruel misunderstanding. But deep down, she already knew. The truth wasn't just in his words. It was in his voice, in his laughter, in how comfortable he sounded betraying her. By the time the call ended, Amina wasn't the same woman who'd left Nairobi that morning. Something inside her had shattered, and in its place, something colder and stronger had begun to rise. Amina's car slowed to a stop on the side of the road, gravel crunching beneath the tires. Her hands were shaking so badly, she could barely keep her grip on the steering wheel. The phone lay on her lap, the baby monitor feed still open, the image of Tarek frozen mid-smile. Her chest felt tight, her breath coming in short, uneven bursts. Then the tears came. Not quiet, graceful one, the kind that shake your whole body. The kind that come when something deep inside you breaks, and you realize there's no way to put it back the same. She covered her mouth, trying to silence the sobs, but they kept coming. The man she trusted most, the father of her child, had just called her convenient. The word echoed in her head, cruel and ugly. She replayed the video again, hoping she'd misheard. Maybe it was edited, maybe she was overreacting, maybe there was some explanation. But every replay only confirmed the truth. He had said it. He had meant it. Amina leaned back in her seat and stared up at the ceiling of the car, her tears sliding down her temples. Around her, life kept moving, cars rushing past, people walking along the dusty road, but her world had gone completely still. Her phone buzzed. A message from Tarek. Did you get there safely? Another one followed. Give my love to your mum. The words made her stomach twist. How could he act so normal, so caring, when just minutes ago he was confessing to using her? The same lips that told another woman she was naive were now asking if she was safe. She picked up the phone, stared at his name on the screen, and for a split second, her thumb hovered over the reply box. Part of her, the part that still wanted to believe, almost typed back, yes, I'm fine. But she stopped herself. Instead, she replayed the footage one last time. Tarek's voice came through clearly, smooth and confident, as he laughed with the woman. The sound burned itself into her memory. Her tears slowed. Her breathing steadied. The pain didn't go away, but it shifted, from something raw and helpless into something sharper. Determined, she wiped her face with the back of her hand, staring out at the road ahead. The sun was starting to dip, painting the sky in gold and orange. She thought about her daughter, little Safi, sleeping peacefully in her crib, innocent and unaware. Amina's heart clenched, not with despair now, but with a fierce protectiveness. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she didn't even look at it. She took a deep breath, her voice low but steady as she whispered to herself. You just ended this marriage yourself, Tarek. Then she started the car again, her eyes red but focused. The woman who had left Nairobi that morning was gone. The one driving back was different. Hurt, yes, but no longer blind. Amina drove back toward Nairobi in complete silence. The road that had once felt open and peaceful now looked endless and empty. The radio was off, her thoughts too loud to drown out. Every few minutes she wiped her face, but the tears kept coming in waves. Anger, heartbreak, disbelief, all tangled together. She wasn't even sure where she was heading. She only knew she couldn't go home. Not yet. By the time she reached the city, it was dark. The lights of Nairobi flickered around her like nothing had changed, but everything inside her had. She pulled into the parking lot of a small hotel near Westland, somewhere quiet, somewhere anonymous. At the reception desk, she smiled weakly and said she needed a room for a few nights. The woman at the counter handed her the key without a question. Inside the room, Amina dropped her bag on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed, still clutching her phone. The baby monitor feed was off now, the last image frozen in her mind. She took a deep breath, opened her contacts, and called the one person she trusted completely, her cousin Zola. Zola picked up on the second ring. Amina? Are you okay? The moment she heard that voice, Amina broke again. She told Zola everything: the camera, the call, the words Tarek said, how he laughed. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then Zola's voice came back, calm but firm. Listen to me. Don't confront him yet. Not now. Record everything. Keep it quiet for a while, she said. We'll use this the right way in court. You have proof, Amina, for both divorce and custody. Amina nodded, even though Zola couldn't see her. She felt a strange calm settle over her. Not peace exactly, but control. For the first time since she'd left home that morning, she had a direction. After the call, she opened her laptop. The baby monitor app was still connected to her home Wi-Fi. She stared at it for a long moment, her fingers hovering over the keyboard, and then she started setting things up. She created a private online backup, a hidden cloud folder only she could access. Then she linked the live stream to it, making sure every second from the monitor would automatically save there. If Tarek deleted anything, it would already be safe. It took her nearly an hour, but when she was done, she felt a quiet sense of power return. The betrayal still hurt, but now there was purpose behind the pain. She looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. Safi would be asleep, and Tarek would probably think his wife was in Mombasa, still clueless. He had no idea she was sitting just a few miles away, watching, listening, and preparing. Amina turned off the lights and lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Her heart still ached, but her eyes were dry. She whispered softly to herself, "You thought I was naive. Let's see how naive I really am." Back at home, Tarek was acting like a man without a care in the world. The curtains were open, the music was loud, and laughter filled the living room. He told everyone it was just a small get-together, a few drinks, some food, nothing serious. But to Amina, watching through the baby monitor feed, it felt like watching strangers dance on the ashes of her marriage. She sat in her hotel room, the lights dim, her laptop glowing in the dark. The camera in the nursery caught everything, voices drifting in from the living room, glasses clinking, music thumping faintly in the background. Then a familiar voice appeared on the screen. Kendi, the same woman from the call. Amina's chest tightened as she saw her laughing, walking freely through her home, touching things that didn't belong to her. The shelves, the baby's toys, even the framed photos of Amina and Tarek still sitting on the wall. Kendi leaned close to Tarek, whispering something in his ear that made him laugh loudly. He poured her more wine, and their friends cheered like it was a celebration. Amina clenched her jaw. Her wedding photo was still hanging in that same living room, right above where they were sitting. The irony stung. Her home, her safe space, was now their playground. Through the audio feed, she could hear Tarek bragging. "Amina's soft," he said, his tone smug. "She'll forgive anything. I'll just buy her flowers, maybe take her out somewhere nice, and she'll melt." The whole room laughed. Someone joked, "You really have her wrapped around your finger, man." Amina's hand trembled, but not from sadness this time. It was anger, deep, steady, and cold. The kind that didn't explode but built quietly, inch by inch. She watched as Tarek wrapped his arm around Kendi, pulling her close, his smile wide and careless. The woman rested her head on his shoulder like she belonged there. Amina's breath hitched, but her eyes stayed locked on the screen. Every second was being recorded, saved to her private backup. She made sure of it. The baby's room, where the monitor was placed, remained still and untouched. The soft night light glowed in the corner, casting shadows on the crib. Safi's blanket was folded neatly on the side. Amina had left it there before she drove away. Seeing it reminded her why she couldn't fall apart. Her heartbreak was still there, but now it had direction. Every laugh Tarek shared, every careless word, every lie he told, she collected them like evidence, like armor. Hours passed. The party finally died down, and the guests left. Tarek kissed Kendi goodnight at the door, telling her he'd call tomorrow. Then he turned off the lights and disappeared into their bedroom. Amina sat back, staring at the now-dark screen. Her face was calm, her breathing steady. The woman who had cried on the side of the road was gone. In her place was someone sharper, silent, calculating, and done being anyone's fool. She whispered into the quiet hotel room. "You keep celebrating, Tarek. You have no idea what's coming." 2 days later, Tarek came home from work like it was any other evening. He parked the car, straightened his tie, and walked toward the door with his usual confidence. He was humming under his breath, phone in hand, already texting Kendi. He had no idea what was waiting for him on the other side. The moment he stepped into the living room, he stopped. Amina was sitting at the dining table, calm, composed, her eyes steady on him. Beside her sat Zola, her cousin, dressed in a crisp suit. And across from them were 2 uniformed police officers. For a second, Tarek just stood there, frozen, his briefcase slipping from his hand and hitting the floor with a dull thud. "Amina, what's going on?" he asked, his voice unsure. Amina didn't answer right away. She just looked at him, the kind of look that cut deeper than any words could. Then, without breaking eye contact, she picked up her phone, unlocked it, and pressed play. Tarek's own voice filled the room, loud and clear. "She's just convenient." The silence that followed was heavy. The police officers exchanged glances. Zola leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, her expression sharp. Tarek blinked rapidly, color draining from his face. "Amina, wait. It's not what you think," he started, his voice shaking a little. "That recording. It's taken out of context, I swear." Amina's tone was icy, calm in a way that scared him more than if she had screamed. "Out of context?" she repeated quietly. "You called me naive, remember? Let's see how naive the court thinks I am." He opened his mouth again, but no sound came out. The officers stood up, one of them pulling out a folded paper. "Mr. Tarek," the officer said flatly, "this is a restraining notice. You are to stay away from Mrs. Amina and their child until further notice." Tarek's eyes darted between them, panic setting in. "A restraining order? Are you serious? Amina, please, we can talk about this." But Amina didn't move. Her face was calm, almost unreadable, but her eyes told the story. The hurt, the disappointment, and the strength that had replaced her tears. "You should have thought about talking before you invited her into my home," she said softly. "Before you turned our marriage into your game." Zola slid a folder across the table. "All the evidence has been submitted," she said matter-of-factly, "including the recordings and messages. You'll be hearing from the court soon." Tarek stood there, speechless, his world unraveling in front of him. He looked at Amina one last time, as if hoping to find the woman who used to forgive him easily, but she was gone. The officers guided him toward the door. As he stepped outside, Amina finally exhaled, the weight of weeks lifting from her shoulders. For the first time since everything began, she felt in control. The same baby monitor that once broke her heart had just helped her take her power back. The story broke in the most unexpected way. A week after the confrontation, Amina was quietly packing boxes in her apartment when her phone started blowing up. Notifications, messages, tags, one after another. At first, she thought it was a mistake. Then she saw it. Kendi, the mistress, had posted a smug video online. She was trying to mock Amina, bragging about how some men just can't stay away, with a blurry background that looked suspiciously like Amina's old living room. But what Kendi didn't realize was that someone had already leaked part of the baby monitor footage, the one where her voice could be clearly heard saying, "You really married her for the money, didn't you?" Within hours, the clip went viral. It spread across every platform, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. People started piecing the story together, matching Kendi's voice, Tarek's laugh, and the house in the background. The comment sections were brutal. "Imagine being proud of destroying your own reputation." She called Amina naive, but look who got caught on camera. Queen Amina didn't even have to say a word. The receipts spoke for her. Amina didn't post anything, didn't defend herself, didn't reply to a single message. Her silence became her statement, and people respected that. Strangers flooded her inbox with support, women saying she gave them courage, men apologizing for what she'd gone through, even clients offering to work with her privately. The internet had chosen its side, and it was hers. Meanwhile, Tarek's perfect image started crumbling fast. His company's biggest clients dropped him one by one, saying they didn't want their brand linked to personal scandals. Colleagues stopped answering his calls. Even friends who used to party at his house began avoiding him. Within days, the marketing executive everyone once admired was suddenly out of work and out of allies. The same charm that once opened doors for him now meant nothing. And Kendi, the woman who had mocked Amina, vanished from social media completely. No posts, no stories, no trace. Amina didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She just focused on moving forward. She packed Safi's clothes, her own designs, her sketchbooks, and moved into a small but cozy apartment across town. It wasn't fancy, but it was peaceful, and that's what she wanted most. With Zola's help, she filed for divorce and full custody of Safi. The baby monitor footage became part of the legal documents, clear proof of Tarek's moral misconduct and infidelity. When the court saw it, there was no debate. The evidence spoke louder than any lie he could tell. One evening, after signing another stack of papers, Amina looked around her new living room. It was quiet, warm, and hers alone. Safi slept soundly in her crib nearby. For the first time in months, Amina felt free, not because she'd won, but because she'd finally let go of everything that was never real to begin with. Months passed, and Amina's life looked completely different, not perfect, but real. The pain had softened into something she could live with, something that now fueled her work. Her new design boutique, Safi and Company, named after her daughter, had quickly become one of the most talked-about fashion studios in Nairobi. Her bold, confident designs reflected exactly who she'd become, a woman who rebuilt herself piece by piece. Every morning, she walked into her shop with Safi balanced on her hip, the scent of fresh fabric and coffee in the air. Her small team adored her. They worked hard, laughed often, and filled the space with warmth. Clients loved her authenticity. They didn't just buy her clothes, they bought her story. Amina's days were busy but peaceful. There were no late-night arguments, no silent tension at dinner. Just laughter, baby giggles, and quiet evenings sketching while Safi napped beside her. Sometimes she still thought about Tariq, not with love, but with a strange, detached pity. He had chosen lies over loyalty, and now he was the one left with nothing. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the last customer left, Amina was locking up the shop when she saw a familiar figure across the street. Tariq. He looked nothing like the man she used to know. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes sunken, his shoulders slouched. The confidence that once defined him was gone. For a moment, he just stood there, unsure how to start. Then, quietly, he said, "Amina, can we talk?" She didn't move. The air between them was thick with memories, good ones, painful ones, all mixed together. Tariq took a small step forward, his voice shaky. "I made a mistake. I lost everything. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly." Amina looked at him, really looked. Once, his words could melt her. Now, they meant nothing. She had seen too much, learned too much. There was no space left in her for his excuses. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "You already said everything I needed to hear, Tariq," she said. And the world heard it too. He flinched a little, the truth hitting him harder than any insult could. She turned the key in the lock, glancing once more at him, not out of longing but closure. Safi stirred in her stroller, letting out a small sound. Amina bent down, adjusted the blanket, and smiled softly. Then she straightened up and said quietly, "I hope you find peace one day, but not at my door." She turned and walked away, her heels clicking steadily on the pavement. Tariq stayed there, watching her disappear into the glow of her boutique. The woman he had underestimated, the one who no longer needed him. Inside, Amina picked up her daughter and whispered, "We're doing just fine, aren't we?" Safi smiled in her sleep, and for the first time in a long while, Amina felt completely whole. The night was quiet, the kind of calm Amina used to pray for. Her workshop was softly lit, rolls of fabric stacked neatly around her, and sketches spread out across the table. She was working on her newest collection. She decided to call it Freedom. Every design felt like a piece of her story, bold lines, flowing fabrics, and colors that spoke of strength and starting over. Across the room, little Safi was fast asleep in her crib, her tiny hand curled beside her cheek. Amina looked up from her sketchbook and smiled. "You'll never see your mother break for anyone," she whispered softly, her voice steady and full of quiet promise. Her phone buzzed beside her, and for a moment, she glanced at the screen. The baby monitor app was still there, the same one that had changed everything. Out of habit, she opened it. The live feed flickered to life, showing the old nursery back in the house she'd left behind. It was empty now. No baby toys, no soft light, no traces of the life she once thought was perfect. Just silence and bare walls. For a long second, Amina stared at it. That empty room felt like the last piece of her old life still holding on. Then slowly she smiled, a small, peaceful smile that came from knowing she no longer needed to look back. She tapped delete. The app vanished from her screen. Amina took a deep breath and looked back at her sketchbook, her pencil moving again. Outside, the city hummed quietly, full of life and possibility. She had her work, her daughter, and herself, and that was enough. For the first time, Amina wasn't watching the past. She was designing her future.